what is Jesus saying to that boy? And I just looked at him and I just felt Jesus was saying, I love you and I forgive you. And I knew that for the first time, I knew that my addictions, I'd never ever thought about getting on the booze again. I never thought about drugs again.
How did you meet Jesus?
Um, Coming from, I guess, a Catholic upbringing, I sort of heard about him a lot. I'd been a lot at church, but it was just chores. It was just do this, go this, do this. Um, I never felt anything at church. I just went there because parents were going there, family was going there, and then they just dwindled off. Where I'd go once at Christmas, just to help mum and dad. I was getting older, so I guess I always felt like there was something, like God was there, but I never ever lived in a way that would suggest that God was in my life. Probably the only time I guess I would ever, if I was in trouble, the more and more strife I got into, the more and more things I faced in my life that were out of control, I would pray. I would say, God help me. But that would be just a very short, sharp, maybe an Our Father or a Hail Mary, a Rosary, something like that back then, because that's all I knew.
Did you see him help you at all?
Well, not that I could really put my thing on my foot on. I just
Yeah, nothing obvious.
no, there was nothing for me that was going to make me. I would get in myself in such situations if I'm facing jail and if I'm facing all these dramas, that I would cry out. I would say, God help me, God help me. But it was never, and I guess of things that he did get me out of, it was never enough to stop me from going straight back into it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Straight back into it. I don't really know. I hadn't experienced really anything at this stage, so yeah, I guess I hadn't felt God on my life at that stage till I was 33 years old. I was in rehabilitation again at Teen Challenge. I got there. My sister had got me there. She had taken me there. My sister had come and got me from an apartment that I was staying in, that I'd been evicted from, on the floor. Yeah, after a couple of attempts on my life. Yeah, just I guess the hopelessness, the sheer hopelessness, and the fear that was on my life, that had been on my life for so long, had all caught up to me. So yeah, a second time again at Teen Challenge. Went there in 2003. Was there for a week. Absolutely cacked myself because everyone had their arms up in the air and praying and like worshipping, and I was up the back going, this is not. But I did give did a prayer there. I did a prayer like, God, if you're like, did the serenity. Not the serenity prayer. Did the prayer that everyone did. Yeah. So I went to my room and I did that, and then I left. Everyone was telling me to stay, but I left. And then I got on a 4-year bender. Just absolutely wrecked myself and got in more trouble, more strife, interstate, just ran amok. Wasn't a day where I wasn't stoned or drunk or just something, unless I had a thing around my wrist where I couldn't leave the house.
So at this stage, like, you're on a bender, what was God even in your thoughts at all, or you just pleasure party?
Well, I guess he was, because I was praying at that time because I'd experienced it. I was just praying, but I wasn't experiencing any change. There was, so I would pray. I was like, God, I need you, I need it. And this job popped up working on the wharves in Melbourne, just when I was about near 30. And I was like, that'll solve all my problems. So I was like, Lord, help me get this job. Just God, I just need this job. I need this job. And sure enough, I got the job. Dad knew someone, and I got in, and everyone was trying to get into the wharves there because it was big money, a lot of money, a lot of shift work, big dough. And I know, and looking back, I'm like, oh, God's given me everything I wanted. But I had to look back to see that he gave me everything that I wanted because he knew I wouldn't be able to handle it. So God was like, I'll give you all the money you want, Tony. I'll give you all that it's going to allow you to do everything. And it did. It allowed me to do more drugs and drink more and do more stuff than I'd ever done in my life. And it brought me absolutely till it wrecked me, till I was on that floor. And I still hadn't connected all the dots yet. So, and then I was dirty on him. Then I was dirty because I'd blown everything. I'd stopped working because I couldn't handle it anymore because I couldn't get up for work. I was just turning up to the job, driving really, millions of dollars worth of machinery on the wharves, like just smashed. So, and I just couldn't do it anymore. To the stage I literally had a physical and mental breakdown. I was done. And the fear and that loneliness, the loneliness, I was just so lonely. That was the big one that he helped me through. That I never, the loneliness I felt, even when I was with people, even when I was with my family, even whoever I was with, I just had this absolute loneliness on me. And just this addiction, I could not break this cycle. I tried and I tried and I tried and I just couldn't break it. I was either thinking about getting on it for a few days or I was on it thinking about trying to get off it. So I was never not thinking about being on it. So that was just my whole life. And by 33, broke me, got the team challenge, and I don't know, there it was again. There was this man speaking.
So this is the second time you're
This is the second time I got there again. My sister took me up on her birthday. So that shows how beautiful she was. I've always had a good relationship with her. She took me up, and my family took me up, and my dad said to me, Tony, if you leave here, head north, because you are not coming back here because property value goes down when you're around. So that was really, I always remember that. They were really hard to hear because I've used and abused them for years and years and years, and they'd had enough. So there I was again. It was just like, what the... And there was this man speaking about Jesus. He's only a young fella, and he'd been in and out of jail, and he just started sharing about Jesus and what he'd done in his life, and that he'd saved his life. And he was just a mess. He was this bawling mess the whole time. And he saved me. He saved me from the prison. He saved me from the drugs. He saved me from everything. And then I was at Blake Stoke, another mate of mine, Gilly, was like, just go up for prayer, and I just didn't know what to do. So I remember going up for prayer, and Stokesy and I just held each other, and he was bawling, and I just started crying, and I just felt a hand on my shoulder, and then I just bawled as well, and I just bawled, and I bawled, and I bawled, and I cried till. And I just felt this absolute peace over my life. And I've never, ever experienced that before. And we just had snot everywhere. It was hilarious. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And he was exactly the same. Like, we were just a big, snotty ball of mess. And it was the most, that's when I really experienced, I felt like there was forgiveness. Because he was talking about forgiveness. He was talking about forgiveness for all that he'd done and the people that he'd hurt. And I felt that, and that's what had wrecked me. I hated who I was, and I was so scared of who I was, but I couldn't stop who I was. And then I hated who I was and couldn't remember who I'd been when I was off my head. So it was just this fear, and that left. And I felt forgiveness for the first time, but I didn't really know what was going on. I wouldn't have said, oh, I'm good by any stretch. I was just like something had happened. And Jesus, and all of a sudden it was Jesus, I don't know this Jesus, I think I just need to know more about Jesus. And that really threw me. And then I just started going, and that was working really well. And then I was getting into worship, and I started throwing the hands up, and I started experiencing Jesus it was just more tears, more tears, more tears. Every time I just raised my hand, I was gone. I was just bawling, and it felt so good because there was other men around me that were bawling as well and wrecked, and we could pray for each other. But it wasn't probably I was probably about 4 or 5 months that I was there. I was cozy. I was like, I got through that stage of wanting the bolt, of wanting to run, and I was just going through. And I always remember this is how I really experienced Jesus, because I kept having dreams, and they were of me grabbing this boy with long hair, and I've got him by the hair, and I'm taking him up this hill to the cross. And I'm taking him and I'm grabbing him, and he's yelling and he's screaming, and I'm taking him up to the loft, and I'm ready to give him to Jesus, and we're going to kill him. Like that's where I was at. I'm like, Jesus, we are going to kill this man, because the Bible was all about the old man. Kill him. The old man is gone. 2 Corinthians. Therefore, if you are in Christ, you are a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come. So I was caught in this thing where I just had him up, and I'm up, and this was going on for ages. I was having this same dream, just bringing him up to the cross, ready to kill him, and I was so angry with him. I was so angry because of what he'd done. And I remember I told my mentor about it, and he goes, "Okay, we're going to pray about this." And he goes, "Okay, close your eyes, Tony." He goes, "Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to bring this boy up to Jesus." So I'm like, all right. So I've got him in there, and he's kicking and he's screaming. He's not wanting to come, and I've got him by the hair, and I've got him up, and I'm like, all right, Jesus, we're going to kill him. And I've got him standing there, and he's crying, and then I remember my mentor said to me, he said to me, "Okay, what is Jesus saying to that boy?" And I just looked at him, and I just felt Jesus was saying, "I love you, and I forgive you for what you've done." And then I just let him go. I just totally let him go, and I was like, "What?" And then I still had my eye closed. He goes, "Now, Tony, just stay with me." And I was still sitting there. And then he goes, and then I remember I just started holding this boy, this man. He was sort of grown, but he was younger than me, but he was grown. And we just held hands, and we started walking down the hill together. And we just stopped. He just stopped, and he got on this rock, and he sat there. And when he got off the rock, he was a little bit littler. He was a little bit littler, but he was still, And then he got off the rock, and then we stood and we held hands, and then we kept walking, and then he got on another rock, and then he got off the rock again, and he was littler. He was littler again. And he was just going down and down in age until we got down to these last rocks, and he got off this little rock, and he was just a little boy. He was so little. And this light just opened up. It was just this huge light opened up. And then he ran in. He just looked at me and he ran in, and I knew that God had healed that boy in me that was just so smashed. He was so smashed. And he just bolted in, and I was like, what the? I was like, it was just so awesome. And then he came running out, and then he high-fived me, and then he bolted back in again, and I never saw him again. And bang, I was up. And so I remember my mentor was just looking at me going, what? And I was just like, oh, and I knew that for the first time, I knew that my addictions, I'd never ever thought about getting on the booze again. I never thought about drugs again. It was gone. And I was in a scenario where there was continually blokes coming in on the drugs, trying to help people who was just trying to get them to stay there because they were just hardcore on it. So just continually in it the whole time. And I knew. And I walked back to where I was working. I was working over the road. And at one of the houses that was on the property, and I remember going back, and I just felt, I just knew, I just felt so that I was clean, and I was clean, and I was never going back. Jesus had created, he had just put the new man in me. I came to there, and I remember the first, come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And I was so tired. I was so tired. I was so tired. And he just took that, I just realised that it was just true, man. Everything I was reading in the Bible, I was just bang. I was just into it, you know, things that were happening. Reading through Galatians and all these things about the act, like the spirit, the spirit of the world is just like love and like lust and greed and all this sort of stuff, and all that was going on. And then you read down, the spirit is this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it just became real. It became real. The word literally became real in my life, and I was living it. I was like, I was into it, you know, and it was unbelievable. And I thought I was gone. I just hated myself. I hated me, which is why I tried to kill myself. And then I hated everyone else as well. I hated the women I was with. I hated everything. I didn't want anything. I didn't want a family. I didn't want anything like that. It was just garbage. I just wanted money. I wanted everything to be about me. So that just, man, I didn't want anything then. I didn't want anything. My whole life I wanted to be someone. I wanted to be someone else. If someone had something, I wanted that. I wanted that. I wanted that girlfriend. I wanted this. I always wanted, but for the first time in my life, I didn't want anything. And man, I was so happy. I was happy just sitting on a bus. I was kicking around on a bus, just talking to people on buses, talking about Jesus. And that just, you know, and yeah, from then on, I didn't know that on the ground, I remember he showed me a photo, not a photo, he was looking over me on the couch, looking down, and he was crying. Jesus was crying, and I was on the floor, like trying to take my life. And I never got it, but he showed me, while I was at 10 Challenge, he showed me that he was telling me, you don't see what I see. You don't see the leader that you are going to be. I just didn't know that. I didn't see any of that. I just saw a bum, that just crapped himself and pissed himself, and it's just feral, wandering around Footscray, just looking for smoked butts, and that's all I saw. That's all I thought I was, and that was just the shame and the guilt that was upon me. But Jesus is like, no, I see you as a leader. I remember a bloke spoke that over my life as well at 10 Challenge, and it just blew me away. And then bang, I was 33, no car, no house, no licence, no job, no nothing. I owed money. I owed a lot of money. Even all the money I was getting, I was gambling, so I owed money. I had absolutely no dog, no cat, no nothing. I had nothing. I was completely just a shirt on my shoulder. That was it. And now, like a wife, 4 kids, all this stuff that he's entrusted me to. And I just can't believe it. I can't believe that all that would happen in my life, that he would just give me and give and give and give. All this stuff he gave to me. So now, 51, I can look back, 17, 18 years, and see that God is faithful, and God is exactly who he said he is. And God has never let me down once. He doesn't give me what I want. I learnt that pretty quick. He's not a genie, as you've probably heard many times before. He's not a genie. He doesn't give me what I want. But he's only ever given me exactly what I've needed at that time, for that time. And that's what I continually battle with, because I still fight with, I want this. But that's just selfishness, Because I have so much now, I'm like far out. So I still have control issues. Ask my family; they'll be the first to tell you. They'll go, "He's a psycho." Well, I'm not, But I still struggle with anger. I still have all my battles, but they're nothing. They don't control me anymore. And I've gotten so good at saying sorry. I'm so sorry. If anything happens, I've learnt that really early too. The quicker you can say sorry to someone, the quicker God heals. So, yeah, that's probably it in a bit of a nutshell of how Jesus saved my life.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Hey, would you be keen to pray anyone listening who maybe
Yeah,
stuck in addictions or
100%.
drugs, alcohol? Do you want to just
Yeah.
do a quick prayer just for maybe them listening?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Lord Jesus, I thank you for this time, and for those any of you out there that are struggling, and I know that you're out there because we all do. Any of you struggling with booze and drugs and gambling and porn or whatever it may be, Jesus is here to help you. Jesus is here to come into your life. Jesus wants to come into your life, and he wants to free you of all your pains, all your burdens, and he can do that, and I promise you that. So Lord, I just ask that there's anyone out there struggling right now that you can touch them, Lord. You can touch their hearts, and you can touch their souls and their minds, Lord. And they can feel something, and they can experience your love, because that's what it is. It's an experience, and it's an encounter that's just waiting. And I just ask that if there's anyone out there watching, that you just ask, Lord, please come into my life. Reveal yourself to me. Just try him. Just try him. Just ask. Thank you,
Amen.
Father. We love you. Amen.
Beautiful. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
No worries.